All right, good morning. Welcome to the Marshall County Board of Supervisors public hearing for the proposed property tax levy special session, 9 a.m. today in the courthouse here, first floor, 1 East Main Street here in Marshalltown. The Board of Supervisors welcomes comments from the public during the time allowed for discussion. You're requested to approach this podium over here where we have a microphone for our recording. State your name and address and for the record, and limit the time used to present your remarks in order that others be given the opportunity to speak. Normal process on any agenda item for the chair to read the item from the agenda. The board is given an opportunity to comment on the issue and or place a motion on the floor. An opportunity for discussion may be presented, at which time the public may participate, and a roll call will follow. So today for the public hearing, what we'll do is we will start with some comments from the board, and then we'll open that up to public comment for questions. So we won't really limit time today because this is your hearing and we're glad that you're here to participate in it. And so you can talk as long as you want to at us. So, and give us wonderful suggestions and all that good stuff. So first off, James, is there anyone on Zoom in this meeting?
There is not.
Okay, so let us know if someone joins in on that too, that they can participate as well. So any questions about this so far, just from anyone, is before we get started? Eldon.
Do you have a shorter version of the budget by departments?
Shorter budget by department.
Categories?
So you're looking for like the,
Let's just say secondary roads. What is the breakdown on that?
is that something you can send to James to have it go up on the screen?
Yeah, I was gonna say, is there something we could email? Can you run it from my Tyler?
I was gonna say, I have my laptop, I don't wanna use my laptop.
Do you want me to just do, maybe I just run the budget?
Yeah. If you want to, just, you can use that, that way you've got something, and Tyler's down there.
We'll work on that for you, Eldon, and then we'll get things started. And then we'll see if we can get some stuff up on the screen for you, since we got a nice screen that'll come down here shortly, so.
Pledge of Allegiance.
We need our roll call of members here first, so we'll start with that.
Heil,
Yes.
Solosik,
Yes.
Pitts,
Yes.
Could you all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. Do I have a motion to approve today's agenda?
I'd make a motion to approve the agenda as printed.
Second?
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Heil,
Yes.
Solosik,
Yes.
Pitts,
Yes.
Now to the proposed property tax levy public hearing. Do we need a motion?
I'll make a
to-
motion to open the public hearing at 9:03 on, 9:03 on March 25th.
I'll second.
Motion and a second. Roll call vote, please.
Heil,
Yes.
Solosik,
Yes.
Pitts,
Yes.
Public hearing has begun at 9:03 a.m. Thank you all for being here. What's wonderful about the state legislature is that they passed this law last year that is really trying to get more active participation from you folks here today, here for our public hearing of the budget. And that's an important piece, I think, of our democracy and having individuals be a part of the process. And so, as you probably did receive your mailings over the weekend or last week, it's given some information on current rates, proposed rates for us, school and cities that you're a part of. And so this is part of that process of the county's budget that we're doing today. And so we're glad to have you here because I don't recall ever there being a budget hearing being this many. We always maybe a couple at most. And so we're up a significant percentage from normal. So thank you for participating today. Looking at this budget, what was interesting about it was we had those valuations go up. They went up with the assessments that we had. But the rollbacks did do their job. It's the formula that comes from the Department of Revenue. that lowers your taxable value. So that went from a 54% for residential down to 46%. And so that's what then has your taxable value decreased, which levels out from those assessments, because a lot of people saw assessments of 25% or more from that assessment adjustment year. So we're thankful that the rollbacks did do that to lessen the blow on the taxpayers. The other key piece is what this body does here is if we control expenditures, then that's going to control the tax as well. We know that's the number one key thing of the people is taxes, and the number two thing is making sure they go coincide together, but making sure that the people receive the services for those tax dollars spent. So what our budget we have today, our tax askings is going up 291,000 at 1.9%. And that's going from 15.3 million up to 15.6 million. The levy that you're seeing is the county consolidated levy is going down from 966 to 930. And so everyone's excited about that, those levies dropping. That's a good thing, but you got to take that whole value and everything in consideration. And so when you have growth of 6.65% countywide, us controlling the expenditures at department levels has us going up at 1.9%, and that's important that you're only increasing your tax askings well within that growth level, and that's what we did. So we had good participation from our department heads. We had a lot of spirited, great budget meetings as a board, and so that's just the overview I have. Is there anything other comment from the board members before we then open it up for public comment and discussion?
No, I appreciate everyone's being here. I'd like to hear what they have to say.
This is a first for me over in the 7-year period of anybody coming to this meeting, so thank you.
We have to do this part too.
The written, yep,
We have to start with that.
okay.
James, you should have an email.
All right, then before we have anyone come up, were there any written comments, questions, or objections on file to the auditor recorder's office?
I received nothing, and the more important person, Maria's received nothing.
I did not receive anything either.
Nothing in your office either.
Perfect, so we have that recorded.
zero.
Has zero, and we have, is there still currently nobody on Zoom, James?
Emily Herring with Conservation Defense.
All right, so
That'd be 12. Because I'm not counting Sarah.
Or staff? Are you counting staff? So Emily on Zoom?
I'm counting Emily on Zoom.
Okay. So 12 with
12.
Emily?
Yes, 12 with Emily.
Okay.
all right. Well, if anyone would like to take the podium, you may come on up. If there's any comment you have today. Discussions, questions? Where will,
James, did you receive it?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Coming up, shortly.
Okay, good. I just wanted to make sure. Hey.
the next question is going to probably be, what was it the year before? All right, I'm not sure how well you're able to see any of this.
Oh, that's better.
That's better.
So as you can see, the departments we have is the supervisors, auditor, and the auditor recording, though it's a combined office, it's still as budgeting purposes. The departments are separate in budgeting purposes. So then we have the treasurer, county attorney, sheriff, recorder, as we said, our buildings and grounds, our IT information services, James in the back there, along with GIS, general assistance, veterans affairs, county conservation, local health board, Department of Human Services, medical examiner, and non-departmental. So those are what we have there. And then under the general supplemental, further.
So it's the same, the general supplemental is the same departments, it's just that it's
breakdown by fund.
Mhm. So in general supplemental, we'd have our benefits, insurance, which would include the property, liability, as well as health, and all of our benefit type things in there.
Also
Uh, The courts, yeah, the courts, so fourth and fifth floor, everything we pay for, the courts there, juvenile court, HHS. HHS,
It has both.
it has both also, okay.
General supplemental.
Question, what is non-departmental?
Oh, boy.
Non-departmental is departments that don't, or expenses that don't pertain to a specific department, like the ARPA money that we spend for the renovation or,
The audit coming in is non-departmental. The medical examiner is non-departmental. So those things that really kind of cover the entire county type of thing that, you know, you'd think, well, that, you know, kind of what you would imagine. There's,
Got an email from you, like, you were concerned about that.
about the insurance for the township folks, that would be part of our property and liability insurance. That's under the general supplemental. But yes, that would be part of the non-departmental as well.
I ask because it's a large amount compared to some of the others. The non-departmental, like for rural services, is twice or 3 times.
It's the insurance. Or general sup, it would be our property insurance and as well as our health, dental, all of the benefit insurances. So in there, that's why it's a big number. Unfortunately, all of our insurances, I think everybody kind of experienced that increase. Also includes our worker comp insurance, which that went up for,
probably looking at the rural service basic, non-departmental for 3.8.
I think, or are you looking at the 890, Jeff, or are you looking at the 3.8?
Well, column above it was large, yeah, it was 1.1 there, and then it's like 3.8 down for basic services. It just seemed to be a major contributor to the budget.
That's secondary roads down there at the 3.8. Because that's rural services, so that's secondary roads.
He's talking about
He said
this
three,
one.
he said 3.8
Oh,
too.
oh, down there? Okay,
They're all big, they're all kind of big numbers, no question.
yeah.
From different pots.
It's from different pots and,
They just categorize it like that.
Yes, I have one question looking at it. Your numbers look the same straight across, and how is that possible? What are, would you review just the headings, so we kind of,
So the reason why is because we haven't, so this is the original budget for fiscal year 25, so we haven't made any changes, no expenditures, no nothing. So it's just gonna show you the original budget, the current budget, so if there was an amendment or expenditures, then it will be numbers in.
because I was gonna say, you would have to have changes from salaries and things like that, and with the numbers look straight across, it's like.
Yeah, well, this is not a comparison to a previous year. This is just
This is
where we're
just-
starting from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
when you can see the column headers, it helps.
Yes.
But we need to zoom in because those numbers were way too
Yeah.
tiny.
Yes.
Yeah. You want to keep scrolling, James?
Yeah, so that gets us.
On the sheriff's budget, is that gonna be, does that include remodeling or anything else like that out there? So we're not gonna replace the windows?
That's not in this number.
It's not in those numbers?
There's some ARPA funds that we may be able to do some things, and that's part of the non-departmental that she mentioned, those ARPA funds.
Yeah, the ARPA funds we have remaining, we have to have them, projects determined by the end of this year of all that money spent, and then spent by the end of the following year. 26.
Yeah,
2
committed
years.
by December of '24,
And
spent by December of '26.
Okay. And that didn't require any matching funds?
No.
Because those ARPA funds are federal relief dollars.
Yeah,
From,
That don't know.
yeah.
dealt with that.
The total expenditures this year versus last year's budget, we're at total expenditures of 41.6 million for the county. Last year was 43.6, and the reasoning for it going down, we were spending down a lot of the courthouse project for that, and so we're spending down. We're holding the line with our departments, but the key thing is that there was a lot more expenditures at the courthouse that had occurred in the previous year, finishing out the project. And so actually this level is the 41.6 matches what our actuals from fiscal year 2019.
Buildings and grounds, we're looking at any improvements to the maintenance sheds. It's all in there. Courthouse, all the buildings.
Courthouse should be about done.
No, I mean,
but
yeah, buildings and grounds is quite a bit.
it is. As you can see, the yard is going to be the big focus
Yeah.
this year once we finally get the nice weather. And then, I think the thing, like we mentioned, the sheriff's office.
Do you want to talk about capital improvements, just in general, what are, that they're not generally in this part of the budget?
Oh, that the capital projects
Yeah.
is separate?
Yeah.
I don't know what specifically you wanted to say on that.
Yeah, I mean, these are, what you're looking at are,
Just
operating funds,
operating
basically,
expenses.
yeah. And capital improvement funds are separate, and, anything we do with the maintenance sheds, any major projects that we do with the maintenance sheds or with the law enforcement center and the jail will be separate from these,
Separate area
yeah.
in the budget, within their field.
Mm,
That's it. It's-
it depends how big it is, yeah.
And I think the reason why it seems too big is because it's like maintenance for all the different places, like the
Yeah.
jail, the courthouse, annex,
Right,
the buildings and grounds shed, election center, so
yeah.
renovation, repair some things that go bad and salaries and all that, so that's
Okay.
probably why it's big.
Okay.
Mhm.
And then it's the talk of the upgrades to the sheriff's office. We did receive a quote approaching that $13 million amount for upgrades out there. We haven't officially decided if that's something we're going to take to the vote for the voters for a bond. So there's a possibility of that, but that is not in this budget at all for this proposal.
Nor replacing the maintenance sheds, yeah.
Correct. There's conversation over years that our secondary road shop needs replaced or a lot of work, and so those are kind of the big capital project items that we're looking at.
We're looking at possibly the same location.
Possibly there's some land that we'd received 2-3 years ago from the city to do further expansion out there. Obviously, the area that we have where the sheriff's office is a possibility as well, or maybe there's a possibility that hasn't been brought to us yet. So those are ideas. None of this stuff is a certainty yet of how and what exactly we're going to do, but those are just the ideas that are out there at this time.
But we are using some ARPA dollars to make improvements to the sheriff's administration building, and on the jail site as well, that would not have to be redone if there were a major project.
Was there any discussion about having a larger place for the prisoners to meet with clergy?
I don't know about clergy. There was discussion about the initial, like attorneys, meeting with attorneys and holding hearings, you know, some of the preliminary hearing stuff there. I don't know that we had a request regarding clergy.
I have not yet either, no.
Mm-hmm.
Is that what you're telling us? Is that what you're telling us, that there's a request for
No,
larger
no,
space
no,
for it?
There's been a lot of talk,
Yeah,
and, I just, wondered.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, let's see. Is the county conservation projects for Greencastle in there yet?
People come up here. James is getting complaints they can't hear.
How many are on Zoom?
They're,
Well, people
They're-
can listen
Oh,
on
later.
YouTube.
Yeah.
Deanne, can you take that microphone and pass around whoever's speaking so they don't all have to get up all the time? Or that one?
Yeah,
There
This
we
is,
go.
Yeah,
there's,
good idea.
there are people on Zoom and YouTube that
Oh, okay.
want to hear our questions.
Yes.
So,
okay, I had a question about the conservation, county conservation. Is the budget there for the modifications to Greencastle as far as the camping grounds?
That's ARPA.
yes.
Same
What-
thing?
Part of it is, Greencastle, you said?
Yes.
Yeah, part of it is ARPA, part of it is,
grant funding.
the trust.
In the
Oh, the
trust.
trust.
Oh, in the
Yeah.
trust? Okay,
Mhm.
all right, thank you.
And you got to talk in here. Say that again.
So the Greencastle project, part of it is ARPA and part of it is in the trust for conservation.
I'm just like to say that from what I can see from these numbers, it looks like you guys are doing a fantastic job of keeping the county budget in line with past years and future. And I can remember when that the county budget was around 12 million, and over 30, almost 30 years, you've only increased it by, maybe 3 or 4 million. And with inflation the way it is, thank you.
It's saying a lot. We met, just like an FYI, we met with each of our department heads probably 3 times for all of them. And there's I think there's 12 different department heads that we have. So there's been a lot of work go into this.
That's the whole thing, is cooperation, communication.
Yeah.
That's what makes it work.
Thanks, Eldon.
Welcome.
And then for your information, so on Wednesday at our next regular session meeting is where we will set our, another hearing, and officially, getting things rolling on the budget. So this year, there's two hearings, so this is the initial one that's tied to the mailing. What's that?
There's always been 2 hearings.
Oh, there has been the 2 hearings. This
But
has been.
it was different than this one.
It was different, and there was also that if we had gone up by a certain percentage or a certain amount, it required us to do another extra publication and tied into the hearings and stuff. So, yeah, this is just a little different, new process for all of us this year. So then we'll on Wednesday set our next hearing for April 9th. It's a Tuesday at 8:30 a.m. is what we're planning to do. So we'll get that finalized on Wednesday, in which at that point in time, if there's any other public comment that comes to your mind, you can always participate in that next one as well.
Is there any, kind of learned how budgets worked when I was at the church, and we saved the church some money, we spent less, so of course our budget got cut the following year. Is there an incentive? Have you figured out a way for a department to come in under budget?
No,
I think that's on, each department comes to us in whatever way they see works best for the department, and, what we proposed to them was, instead of just, submitting whatever they want to us, was, we want you to stay within, I mean, the state legislature is very adamant on why they passed this laws, like, they wanted that the property taxpayers, to be seeing the same type of benefits that the income taxpayers are. And that's by limiting expenditures to 2.5–3%. And that's how the state is saying, that's how we're able to lower the income taxes, is by controlling expenditures. And that's why they put these 3% limitation on, depending on your growth, to lower your levies by those percentages. And so we right away told department heads, we want you to remain within, try to be within 2.5–3%. And we don't care what you do within your budget, as long as it's within that. And most departments did stay within that. There's a couple that, with sheriff's office, most importantly with some public safety things.
Yeah.
And there's some things in conservation that we need to do some catch up on. But for the most part, we stayed
Yeah.
very close within those margins. And so
We just asked them to prioritize it instead of us, tell us where your priorities are within these parameters. And I get what you're asking. It's a real challenge because we have some catch up to do on some of our people costs. And then we also have had increasing costs, particularly in, some of the supplies, materials, and then in non-departmental insurance things, so,
Well, I agree with Eldon. I mean, the way inflation's going,
yeah.
your numbers look really good. I just never came up with a good idea for what I'm
Yeah.
asking.
Yeah, is there an incentive not to go all the way in the budget?
Like the road department, weather is huge.
Yeah,
it's about being creative. In some years, the department's a little more creative than other years. Or like the year when we combined the auditor recorder's office, there was some savings in that at that point in time over a decade ago. But when there isn't a whole lot of ways that you can be creative because we're bound by the Code of Iowa, but in some instances we can, and that's, each department, they have an affiliate they meet with, and they can be as creative and efficient as they can. But that's a very good point, because we could come a time that there is not the valuation increase, and when it comes down to we're raising taxes massively or we're asking people to cut. I mean, there will be days that there is that. And so when we're at that point, I know where I am as a supervisor. I do not want to increase taxes at any rate that's above growth. And so, there will be those times that department heads need to know that there is those potential cuts, and that prioritization is key. And trying to work out, when we have these meetings with our department heads, is working out the long-term plans. We've had some departments come with a lot longer list of things that need to be done, and we had to pare those back, saying, well, this can't be done this year, but could be done another year. But they're on our radar to go after, and we know what we can peel off depending on where the value structure comes with us, of what dollars are available, so that we're getting what we need to get done, but we're protecting you guys as the taxpayer.
some of the things too are driven by changes the state is making. And so, that's always a little bit of an unknown for us. One of the areas that is on the radar, but we don't know what's going to happen yet with that, is public health. There's a chance the state may come in and just reorganize and regionalize public health, but we don't know what's going to happen with that yet. So there's still some moving pieces to this.
I had a question from someone that was asking, the mailer that just went out last week, does the state reimburse us for that, or is that our cost?
No, that is another unfunded mandate, and
Yeah.
that was one of the things we took to ISAC as the auditor's affiliate of things. like.
And how much did that cost us to do?
We don't know the full cost yet. The small counties, one of them had a full bill. They thought it was gonna be around 15,000. So if you just take that, it's, you know, it's not great information, but it did, the front side told you when your budget hearings were. So that the back side, I'm afraid people are gonna think that their taxes are gonna go down double digits. And then when Deanne sends out her information in August, people may not be happy if that's all they pay attention to. So I'm nervous about that, and we'll try to keep getting the word out the best we can, and hopefully you all can share with your friends and neighbors what the reality really is. It's when people talk math and then you see math, it just is different. So hopefully we can get a technical bill to kind of fix that mailing for next year, so it'll be more meaningful on the back side of that information. Because my mom got her Saturday and she goes, awesome, it's going down 17%. That's fabulous. I went, yeah, okay.
You may want to explain why there's a difference in what is actually happened versus what's reflected on that sheet.
What's on the sheet, there was $100,000 residence and 150 commercial. We had a big valuation increase, and that was across the state. I think we averaged around 20% here in Marshall. That was but that's an average. And the rollback for residential went from 54% to 46%. What they did is they took that $100,000 home at 54%, then they took it at 46%. They did nothing with the valuation change. Makes a negative number. There's no other way to do that than when you're taking that kind of rollback than to get that kind of a big. And somebody just didn't think about it when they were talking it. They needed to also do the assessment increase, and that would have fixed the whole thing. I also thought it looked a little wonky for those of us that lived in the country with the blank space at the bottom. I wish that would have just been totally blank, but it just had a little form and it just wasn't filled in like the information was missing. So that I thought looked a little odd too. So Jarrett and I, that's how our forms looked. It was like, oh, that isn't what I thought that would look like. Oh well, that's all, you know. The other thing I wanted to piggyback on Kevin's comment, and I was really glad I didn't see this when I started in the county in 2017. One nonprofit government agency I worked for a long time ago, as the year end approached, everybody started buying things to spend up all their money. And I have not seen that here at the county. People let it go to the fund balance, let it carry over. They know that they will get what they need for their budget to carry on. That isn't a game that's played here. And so I feel
That's
good
good to
about
hear.
that.
That's good to hear.
And there's some proactive with that too. During our budget meetings, there was departments that scaled back spending in this current year to add that carryover to help with our next year. So there is that. When we told departments, hey, well, this number we're starting at right now is not going to be palatable for myself and or the taxpayers, what can we do? And we just started scaling back and utilizing current year fund balances to do that. So it is a good thing that we haven't seen a lot of that at all here at the county.
Yeah. So that I was very encouraged by when I started here. I went, well, at least some people have common sense. To me, that's just common sense. You don't buy things you don't need.
But you don't want your budget to go down the next year.
Right, correct, that's true, but yeah, just still seems wrong.
On the mental health part of the budget, what are we looking at for local services for mental health? Not including the, for the disabilities. We're still sending money to state facilities, correct? Or did the state finally take over all of that?
State took that over a couple years ago.
Okay.
And so that line item that we had for mental health, it had been reducing down from like 900 and some thousand a year, then it reduced to 800, then the last year was 692, and then it was completely taken out in year 22, fiscal year 22, I think. And so the state is now taking that all over. So now there's an advisory board. I'm
Right.
the member that sits on that, and I have advisory board that's with our mental health region. And then there's the actual governing board, which is the governing board used to have all the supervisors from all counties on the region on it. Now the advisory board has all county supervisors on it. The governing board has other entities on it as well. So there's only 4 board of supervisors on it, and our region's pushing 20 counties. 18 to 20, something like that. But now there's even proposals out there to completely change the mental health, the regions that the state has. So it all changes all the time, what goes on in Des Moines. But so yeah, we do not have that levy left in 22.
So the funds that go to CERC, those funds aren't coming from the county anymore?
Correct.
I'm on a board and it says county payments made. Does that come from the region?
I'm wondering if it's coming into a line item that was named that, but now coming from a different source.
Because the counties are still liable for paying part of the services.
So we don't have any,
You don't,
Maria, we don't have any contract with CERC or Situsi or any of those services.
It was always basically put in the mental health budget,
yeah.
which covered placements at the state facilities and then nonprofit agencies for assisted living.
I mean, for like shelters and.
Yep.
We still do some, like when they have invoices, we still pay those out of the Board of Supervisors budget. But I think there is, there is a line item that pays for shelters but I don't know if it's mental health.
Isn't it
I
all
s- I think
juvenile
it's for
too?
juvenile,
Well, I mean, it's juvenile detention
Juvenile
stuff.
Juvenile detention.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because see.
We have
state
that.
was picked up from birth to age 21, 18 or 21. And then it went to the counties to pay that.
Yeah.
That has changed.
That has changed, yeah, but on my records, I'm on that board too. And I see, county payments, And I don't know, maybe that comes from the state, because it might be that way.
It must come from the state.
Reach out to us.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah.
And ask, we can dig in
Yeah.
and see what the payments are.
Okay, all right, thank you.
That would be
Yeah.
good information to have.
Yeah, because there's concern about that in the community, mental health is a big issue. A lot of people think of mental health as going to the mental health center out here. And it's really not now, it's a broad spectrum of services that are available in basically all the counties. And I just wondered if that was still coming from this budget or for that budget, because that would make a big difference in the budget. Thank you.
We do have significantly increased costs in juvenile detention,
Yes.
which are not within our control, but we pay the bill for.
Right, and you're still with,
Central
Waterloo?
Iowa Juvenile Detention,
in Waterloo or in?
Eldora.
Eldora.
Yeah.
So you got out of Waterloo.
It's Central Iowa Juvenile Detention in Waterloo.
They merged then? No,
No.
okay,
I think it involves 24 counties now.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
But
it's-
there's another 99 thing when you were asking about that non-departmental.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's another one of
That's
those.
another one of those non-departmental
Yeah,
things.
and that's a significant cost that we don't control.
Yeah, I know you don't.
Yeah.
It's been a issue as long as I can remember.
When I first came on 7 years ago, it was about a $70,000 cost to the county, and now it's closer to 300,000. So it's a pretty concerning problem, situation here, at least in Marshall County.
Yeah, and the clients that are there have not been adjudicated. They've been
Right.
sent there, they've committed a crime or something, they go there until they're adjudicated. After that, they could still stay there, or they go to Eldora, correct?
The Eldora,
The
The
the other
state,
facility,
yeah,
the other
yeah.
state facility, yes,
yeah.
Okay.
yeah.
Any other questions, comments today? Anyone joined by Zoom? Anything from you?
No, sir.
All right, well, if there's no other further discussion today, that'll end our hearing, which we'll have to vote to
I'll
close
make a
that hearing.
motion that we end the hearing at 9:41 a.m. on March 25th.
I'll second.
We have the motion and the second. Any further discussion? I want to thank everyone for the participation today. It was really lively, good discussion, and hope we all learned something from it. And we'll figure out what's going on with those Cersei payments and who those are coming from.
Yeah.
So, but thank you very much. Without any further discussion, roll call vote, please.
Kyle?
Yes.
Solosik?
Yes.
Pitts?
Yes.
All right. On to adjournment. Next regular session is Wednesday, March 27th, this Wednesday, at 9 a.m. here in the courthouse, this room, first floor meeting room, 1 East Main Street. All business to be acted upon that session should be submitted to the audited recorder's office or the Board of Supervisors' office by last week. There being no further business to come before the board, the meeting is adjourned at 9:42 a.m. Thank you very much.